Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and this is the Anfield Index Podcast, episode, I believe, 348. And I'm joined for this particular edition of the podcast by Cam Brainch and by Lisa Marie Hanahan, with young Kopak off being a mountain climber this week in his one of his new incarnations, and Guy Drinkle watching the World Cup, taking a well-deserved break because I think he's been on 11-9 podcasts, or at least probably had to produce them. So we're going to hold the fort for you this week, folks, and we're going to hopefully get around to some of the things we wanted to talk about last week but couldn't because the children were being bold, and it was like wrangling cats. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more, as we call it in Gaeilge, schmacht about us today, and be a bit more under control. And then again, maybe we won't. Who cares? Let me start by saying hello to my guests, my co-presenters, whatever you want to call them today. We'll start off with Mr. Cam Brainch. How you doing, fella?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Trevor. How's yourself and the family?
Really, really good. Really, really good. Did you, by any chance, just have yourself muted?
I did, because I was trying to be professional.
All right.
Don't get used to this, folks. It was a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Oh, if only people knew what had just happened moments before, they would understand the reason I'm drawing attention to this. Yes, I did have to. I can't not tell people how the sausage is made. You know this about me at this stage. I like to reveal the secrets of the carnage.
Very raw.
Yes, young Brainch was sending us some recordings of him singing, ladies and gentlemen, earlier on, just before we started, causing him to have some sound issues. But he has promised us that he may break into said song, which myself and Lisa Marie haven't had a chance to hear, if the mood takes him later on. So, I mean, I don't know whether to say look forward to that or brace yourselves, but it may well be happening. So we'll see how that works later on. What was the week like for you, brother? Were you very busy, or are you getting to see any of this football, or what are you doing?
It's a usual week at work, chaotic and disorganized and dysfunctional, my work environment. But yeah, I mean, my youngest daughter, we've tried to watch a little bit, and I've sort of engaged it because she's actually sitting down and watching something with me, or sitting with me, and we're sort of chatting away, not really watching the football while the football's on in the background. So we have watched a few games that have been like the 7:00 games. Managed to catch a couple of those without really watching them. So but yeah, it's been all right. I've got a little quote for you, Trev.
Yeah. Lovely.
Just quickly, this is a glorious one. You'll like this one. You'll like this one, and Lisa Marie, you'll love this. So here we go. One thing is for sure: a World Cup without me is nothing to watch.
Oh, is this a contemporary quote?
Yeah, this is I don't know when this said individual said it, but he said it.
But he's a guy who's actually operating within the game currently, yes?
He was a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if he still is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm fascinated. It's not like we're short of egomaniacs.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah. But we do know the biggest world egomaniac show pony is actually at the World Cup.
He's at the World Cup, so it can't be him.
So it can't be him.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards, with the greatest respect to my Dutch pals, a Dutchman, because they are famously quite forward about saying how great they are. Is it potentially a Dutchman?
No.
It's not. Okay. Huh. Lisa Marie, you want to help me out here?
Really? You're asking for me now? I don't know. Is it? Oh, what's his name? That's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. Go on. Say it. That's the one.
That's what I'm here for. Is it Zidane?
No. That's
Okay.
that's definitely not a Zidane thing. He wouldn't say something like that.
Go on,
It's the biggest ego in world football ever, I would say. Bigger than Ronaldo, I think.
Go on. Put us out of our misery.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Of course.
That's who I was thinking of.
I know that's who you're thinking of. That's why
that makes perfect sense. Oh God,
that's actually who I swear to you. That's who I was thinking of. I just got the name wrong. But anyway. Yeah.
So the quote again: a World Cup without me is nothing. It basically a spin on.
One thing is for sure: a World Cup without me is nothing to watch.
Is nothing to watch. Yeah, I mean, like we've all heard, football without fans is nothing. But Zlatan's put his Zlatan.
Yeah, he's bigger than the World Cup. You say he's bigger than.
Yeah.
Glorious.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I spent full disclosure. I spent the last 40 minutes trying to find a funny story, football related story to play as my little clip. And you know when YouTube tells you that something is hilarious or the funniest world football story ever in the title, then you play it and you go, I mean, it's fine. And none of them were particularly good. So I ended up with nothing in the end. So I'm not going to play a clip today. I'm going to go straight to Lisa Marie and ask how Lisa Marie is getting on. So how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you. It's been a week. It's been a weird week because it was a holiday week here, of course, with Thanksgiving in the middle. And I only baked 8 pies, not the predicted 9 or 10 that I mentioned last week. So just 8 pies.
Yes.
3 blueberry, 2 pumpkin, and 3 apple. So yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
We saw them, and they were posted to our AIP WhatsApp thread. And again, telling tales out of school, Lisa Marie posted the pictures of these incredibly attractive looking pies. One came in, it was a picture of 2 pumpkin pies, and Brainch goes, nah, I don't like that.
I don't like pumpkin pie. I mean, what?
Someone else can have my bit, says Brainch. I was like, dude.
I didn't say the pies didn't look nice. I just said I don't like pumpkin pie. I mean,
I offered you the alternative of
and I said yes.
Yes.
Trev just being Trev now. He's just trying to make a drama from nothing, you know. He's just trying to make me look bad. Just trying to make me look bad, people, you know. Just ignore Trev. Yeah, this is what he does on a regular basis. That's all he's about. Make Brainchy look like the bad guy while he's an angel. It's no idea, folks. Honestly, I'm just going to leave it at that. I won't lower myself to Trev's level.
I did a podcast during the week with Dan Rhodes and Phil Barter on the departures from Liverpool's backroom team. And the 2 guys were going at it full on, we're nerds. You're a neutral, Trev. We're just going to put it all out there about how we feel about this. And, we got some really interesting responses to it. 1 or 2 people, I think because they didn't like the concept of anyone other than Jurgen Klopp and the players being important, to sort of push back against it. There were also another couple of people who are duly noted, by the way, putting out these little sort of snide generalistic tweets about ITKs, and people think they know what they're talking about. And I'm like, if you understood what these guys do on their weekly show and what they do in their lives, they do know, and they actually are completely in the know about this topic and this subject of the use of data in football and the use of various other metrics to improve performance. So it just came across as a little bit pathetic from a few of these people, but there's obviously it's obviously quite triggering for quite a lot of folks. But the response mostly:
are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
People saying, look, it's a bit depressing, but it's great to get the insight. And I thought the lads were tremendously interesting on the topic. But you both will have been aware of it during the week as a thing that happened that we sort of have to acknowledge. And I just wonder if I could get, as non-data analyst types, where you both landed with this. And just in case people are still in the dark what I'm talking about, obviously we had the Michael Edwards departure, and then we had Julian Ward step forward, and he announced mid-season that he will be leaving at the end of the season, having done just one full season. And of course, anyone who announces something like that halfway through a campaign, professional and all as they are, there are then questions about how where their focus is for that remaining period of the contract. It's just a natural human thing. And then there's further departures in the form of the director of research, Ian Graham, and a couple of others, very intelligent folk who've been involved in creating that behind the scenes information source for Jurgen and the first team coaches who are likely to leave as well. And the podcast was called, Brain Drain, because that's really what feels like happening at the moment. I wonder, when I know, Lisa Marie, you heard a little bit of it, at least live. I wonder, was it something that you found yourself sort of actively concerned about? Have you got a sort of broader scope, or think, well, you would just hire more nerds, which was one of the suggestions? Or is it potentially, given the fact that the club is now very publicly up for sale, part of a worrying sort of dismantling of what had brought us success? Where did you land with it?
I think I landed in each of those places at varying times during the podcast. Excuse me. Now, okay, so this was Thanksgiving morning here when this all broke. So I saw it when I got up that morning. Didn't really have time to delve into it because of the things that I had to do that day before, we gathered for our holiday meal. And but then just happened to look at my phone at the minute that I believe it was Guy put in the Discord chat that you all were getting ready to record that podcast. So I jumped on. So that allowed me to kind of get a little bit better while I was baking an apple pie, by the way, I believe. I was in the midst of baking something. So I was listening to it and yes, I was listening to what was being said, but I will say that I actually this morning went back and re-listened to that podcast just because I had a feeling it would be a topic of discussion today. And just to kind of, also with a little bit of distance from that knee-jerk, oh my God, are the, more people abandoning ship, if you will? What does this mean? And, and that sort of initial panic that one can often have, when seeing news like that. And, and I'm a little bit torn. I mean, part of me has to wonder if this is something, at least in a couple of those departures, that's maybe been known for a little bit, and it's now just kind of coming out as, the break with the World Cup and the sale of the club and, and some of those other things. I don't know. It's pure speculation, of course.
It makes sense, though. It makes sense.
It does make sense. It absolutely makes sense. And so, I mean, I think my worry probably outweighs my natural inclination to think, oh, it'll be fine. It's okay. And I think it's just because if it were, okay, Michael Edwards left and then the next one but the fact that it's multiple people kind of going at the same time, I think is what worries me the most. And again, I think part of this is what either Dan or Phil or even yourself, Trev, were saying during that podcast. I am worried about what it's looking like. Klopp is got more overall influence, power, whatever word you want to use, across the board, as opposed to just sort of coaching or managing the players in the team. I think when someone starts splitting their time amongst too many things, they generally don't do any of them well. Generally. Yeah. There are exceptions to that rule, and but when you're managing multiple, things within your job and you spread yourself kind of thin, and then I'm speaking from my own experience because I do project management type work, and when I'm managing, it's like, oh, it's just 6 small projects. Yeah. But it's 6 small projects that each have meetings and responsibilities and things. And yes, individually, it's not a big project, and no, it doesn't need to take up all of my time. But I'm still having to split my attention between 6 different things. And I feel like instead of doing 2 or 3 things well, I'm now doing 6 things not well. And that's my worry with Klopp. I think that's very astute. Yeah, I think that's a very astute way of looking at it. I hadn't thought about it in that way. And it's interesting, Cam, to bring you in on this, because I don't know how much attention you paid to it during the week, or if you read any of the articles around it or heard that show or whatever. But the take from Dan and Phil was quite interesting, because it kept coming back to one thing that this is obviously something that's known, that has sort of like, taken a little bit of hold that people have become aware of, which is that it kept coming back, and I saw Cy Brundish talking about the next day, it kept coming back to this idea of people feeling valued, that these guys are so, brilliant and sought after, that, all the lads were keen to point out they're not chasing money by doing this gig, and that, they'll have no problem switching and possibly getting a lot more money for something else or in some other line of work. But it was the idea of being appreciated, and the fact that we had created at the club something that was sort of universally lauded and envied. And then there seems to be this suggestion that perhaps that appreciation is not what it used to be. And this goes back to what Lisa Marie is saying about, then that builds into a rumor of, a burgeoning Klopp dictatorship, and of course, all of this is speculation to an extent, but it's certainly something that we need to talk about and acknowledge. Given that so many guys are saying what they're saying, there seems to be a thread there of this idea of these guys not feeling perhaps the love in the way they once did, and that could be a big reason why they're jumping ship. Of course, there's also the context of the new ownership. Maybe something is known behind the scenes at the club around that. Who knows? I mean, where have you sort of landed on this issue? Whether it's something you've looked into deeply or not. I mean, what's your take on it?
My take is I'm not really going to listen too much to speculation as to why, because ultimately we'll never really know the actual truth to that. It's and it is just that speculation. I'm only going to go by what I feel and what I see and what I know, sort of thing. And what I know is that as a collective, as a team, what they've been doing has been working. And it's been working really, really well with, if you look at, the majority of the signings we've made, they've been really, really good. The way they identify players, the way they work as a unit to ensure that the type of player they get in works as a whole for what they are trying to achieve. So what that will then mean is Klopp working with those guys saying, look, this is the type of football I want to be playing. So these are the type of high energy players that I'm going to be requiring. They then go look at do whatever they got to do. They'll then identify certain players. The scouts will then probably look at those players and say, yeah, the player X, Y, and Z is really, really good. And then they'll take it from there. They'll have a short list of, say, 3 or 4 players. Now, if it turns out that system worked really well, the last few seasons are testament to that. In 3 Champions League finals, it was 3, wasn't it? I'm not miscounting there, am I? 3 Champions League finals, numerous title challenges, a Premier League win, FA Cup final win. Obviously, we know everything we've done, and that's because of what they've done as a collective. Now, if it's a case of suddenly Klopp becoming power hungry or anything of that sort, where he suddenly wants to take over, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that. I don't like that, because that to me smacks of Brendan Rodgers not wanting to work with the whole collective. And we saw what happened with Brendan Rodgers. It just went to shit. And
again, just to be clear, just to be clear, that is speculation too. And the one thing we do know, which backs up your point, is that the unit, the real central hub of the club, was Mike Gordon, who's since moved to a different focus. It's more Billy Hogan now, and Michael Edwards and Jurgen Klopp. And that was the trio that were at the heart of this process, which you're talking about. And then all these other guys were doing what they do in the background.
Yeah, that like the astrophysicist that we had from the CERN project in Switzerland.
Exactly. And that unit is now disintegrated, and it is no longer there. So perhaps that might explain why there is potentially a frustration in the manager with the way things are currently working. Maybe the relationship with Ward isn't what it was with Edwards. The fact that Gordon is now not hands-on. These are all things that could be very much feeding into it. And that's not speculation. That's real. That is a change that has happened and that the club is having to come to terms with, So you could understand where there might be people starting to speculate and make these kind of suggestions about Klopp and control. But the reality is that central structure has changed. And one way or the other, things have moved. And there might be frustration there that it's not working like it used to. That's very possible, right?
Yeah, well, it's totally possible. But the strange thing about it all is with the announcement effectively from the FSG that they're looking for more money to come into the club as either with a shareholder or the sale of the club, you'd think that would almost energize these guys at the same time as well, thinking, actually now, the targets that we really wanted that were out of our reach because of certain, monetary restrictions are going to evaporate, and we can really go up another level. And the fact that that's not the case, that's what's worrying. That's the real worry for me, because it's like you said, some of these guys, what was the name of the guy? Not Julian Ward, the other guy who's resigned as well. Pronounced his
Michael
name.
Edwards.
No.
Ian Gray.
Ian Gray. He's meant to be the best of the best. Yeah, he's meant to be on another level, and if we can't retain somebody like him, knowing that, and if he's not excited by what's going to be happening in the future, and I don't like it. I really don't like it. It worries me. I don't want it to become, because FSG had a brilliant model in what they ultimately, whether by hook or by crook, they developed something that was superb. And like you said, you rightly said, it was the envy of every other club in world football. It truly was the envy. I mean, look at Klopp. He wanted Julian Brandt. He didn't want Mo Salah. I think everybody can acknowledge that was pretty much the case. I don't think it's some dark secret or anything like that. Now, imagine how different that would have been for Liverpool Football Club. It could have been wonderful. But Julian Brandt hasn't exactly tore up any trees when he went. I think he went to PSG, didn't he? And I don't think he was hardly ever getting a game. But it's, like I say, I'm just going to go back to that, the ingrained bit, and that's the one that we're in. The director of football, you can always get another director of football, if that makes sense. But somebody like Ian Graham is, who's the best there is. When you lose somebody like that, then you've got to think there's something going on maybe behind the scenes that is a touch worrying, and that is speculation, obviously.
It is speculation, but it's valid speculation, because we know that there's a climate of uncertainty now, which has been created by the news that the club is up for sale.
Yeah. And
then you have this movement at the same time and just immediately before in the form of Edwards. And I mean, that you don't need to be like, this is what I'm trying to say, explain to people kindly on the Bird app. You're allowed to talk about these things and to engage in speculation and try to make it as informed as possible, without having it leveled at you that you are somehow, trying to get on some kind of ITK ship and sail it off into the seas. I want to talk about this because it's Liverpool Football Club is such an important part of my life. Such a central hub in terms of I'm way leveraged. I'm over leveraged in terms of my personal happiness in direct correlation to what happens at Liverpool Football Club. So bloody hell, you're right. You can be sure I'm going to talk about the things that might be changing therein. And so when you see movement and you see potential change, and you have to talk about it. It could be brilliant. And like you've just hinted at something there, Cam, and Lisa Marie, I'll just bring you back in at the end here on this as well. And Cam, if you want to say something to round it up, you can come in after that. Okay. But there is the possibility, Lisa Marie, that, like Cam sort of alluded to it there, that there could be, there is a sort of puppy dogs and sunshine version of this, which is that we're about to go to a different model, which is basically more old-fashioned and money-driven, and Kloppo's going to get the money to go and get the big players that he wants. Now, to me, that's potentially very pie in the sky-ish, but I have seen it. It's a thing that won't go away, and there are people saying and suggesting that in these serious chin-stroking articles. We're also seeing it from one or two of the hacks who tend to have a little bit of the inside track. So there is an alternative version to, well, the club is falling apart and we're all going to die, to, well, actually, maybe things are going to change here in a very dramatic way and we're going to turn into a different kind of a beast. Do you have any time for that particular version of events?
I think there's some validity there as well. And I think it's all of the unknowns that are making people very anxious. You do. I mean, as we've all just said, you've got, the announcement that either, that FSG is either looking for additional, investors, capital, or putting the club up for sale. Then you have, this information about, these, key people in the management and the philosophy and the way things have worked so successfully for the last few years leaving. And I think that all just adds up to, everyone's anxious because we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. And that just, it freaks people out. It's just, we don't, I hear people going, I've heard varying and sundry things about, well, what is this going to mean for the January transfer? Because we really need some players to be able to, shore things up to be able to get through the rest of the season. And, and I've heard speculation 6 ways to Sunday, on just that piece of things alone. And none of us know. We don't know. But that unknown is what is creating all the anxiety. And to quote our friend Alan O'Donoghue of the Anfield Podcast, he taught me a long time ago, anxiety is an emotion of the future because you have no control over it. And the things in the future that you don't know and they're unknowns and you can't control, that's what makes you anxious. And I think we're just seeing this magnified on a degree, because it's, on Twitter and in Discord and the articles that are being written by journalists that, need to fill column space or whatever. And it's all meshing together to just freak people out.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. You've got me in my head spinning now with that phrase. If you're going to quote O'Donoghue, I'm going to quote that famous neocon ghoul Donald Rumsfeld, who once said, "We also know that there are known unknowns. That is to say, some things we do not know, but there are also unknown unknowns, the ones we don't know." You should have finished that quote properly, didn't you? The things we don't know, we don't know. That's the worst, isn't it?
That's true too.
That's where,
yes.
where this. That's what that anxiety you're talking about is the stuff that we don't know. We don't know. There's all this stuff that's potential that could happen, and I think that makes people uneasy. I think that's why they get so quite spiky in their interactions online. God bless them. Cam, is there anything you want to say about this to finish it up before we move away?
No, I'm good. I think you guys have covered it beautifully with your unknowns of the known, of the unknown, known, of the Rumfeld, of the Donald, of the Trump, of the Apocalypse, of the Illuminati. Yeah, $5 bill.
Trev just can't give credit to the man from County Louth, but that's okay.
There's no danger that O'Donoghue's getting a quote without me balancing out by someone else who's less worthy of Lisa Marie's praise. We should start moving away, and I want to do it in a way that seems at least like we're making a segue that pretends that we're still a sports podcast and a football podcast specifically, because one of the questions I wanted to talk to you about last week was something that has amazed and fascinated me since the inception, whatever the hell it was. I don't know when it started. I'll be perfectly honest. It feels like it's been around for about a decade in a very real way in my workplace. And people I know, like friends and colleagues, are obsessed with this. It's a thing that they're obsessed with. For me, I've never given it a minute's consideration. or involvement, because for me it creates a certain amount of stress and, to continue the theme, anxiety, and I don't understand the concept of it. The thing I'm talking about, folks, is fantasy football. I'm sure a lot of people listening here are part of a fantasy football league or have been at some point. I'm sure a lot of people here who are listening have taken part in some way, shape or form in this phenomenon at some stage. Maybe they're mad about it. I do believe that we even had a podcast on the channel which was sort of semi-devoted to this topic. It really has been a bit of a cultural phenomenon. I don't know if it's waning or if it's still as strong as it was, but I've never understood it. I'm just going to lay out my case about fantasy football before I tee you guys up to get your take on it, and if you've ever done it and what you make of it. See, for me, the idea of looking around the league, and I couldn't do it now anyway because I don't watch enough football. But back when I did, it would add levels of stress. I think it's maybe for people who like a flutter, who maybe like a bet now and then. Maybe it suits their personality or way of thinking. But for me, it would just add stress to games that I would just be watching for enjoyment. So say Chelsea are playing Spurs. That's just a nice game for me to watch. I don't have any shares in it. I can just watch it and see what happens. And I might want to sit back and do that on a Sunday afternoon. However, if I've captained, I don't know, Harry Kane because I think he's liable to score and then he doesn't, there's a whole extra layer of stress around that match for me that I just don't. I've completely failed to see the enjoyment in it. I think other people like it because it tests maybe some sort of inside knowledge of the game, and they feel like they're almost, I don't know, is it like a bit like Championship Manager or something? I don't get it. I've never gotten it. For me, it's not a thing I have ever done or even been vaguely interested. But Cam, I mean, I guarantee there must be people in your life who have been, if you haven't. What's your take on fantasy football as a phenomenon?
Yeah, I'm part of the Works Fantasy Football Team League. Whatever.
Are you?
Yeah, I got roped into it this season. I hadn't done it for 2-3 seasons. And then I then got roped, like I say, I got roped into it again this year at work. New workplace, you know, you're trying to fit in, you know, and they're like, come on, we know you're a football man, so you've got to do it. So I thought, well, go on then, I'll do it. And I've got the take of it that I'll pick my teams, I'll do whatever, you know, do what I think is right. And then say I think if I've got, say, Haaland and I've got him captain, then I see that Man City scored, because, you know, invariably they do score a few goals. I'm then saying, please let it be Haaland, or let it be one of the other Man City players I may have in and who's given us this. But I don't let it affect me in the way maybe it does yourself, because
right.
It's not serious. It's not a real thing or anything. It's only, you know, it's just a little bit of fun. Ultimately, you know, it's nothing to be taken too seriously. And I think if you're taking it too seriously, you know, you got your priorities wrong in life, haven't you?
Yeah, well, you see, this is where I'm going with it. I do know.
So I'm guessing you're not really a big fan
like
of what you're saying, you know.
I'm not at all, man. Like it's just I find it completely uninteresting as a concept. Just completely uninteresting. I'm trying to justify why by saying I think it'd stress me out a bit, but I've never given it enough thought to even do that. That's just me justifying it after the event. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
And I know that several people have different levels. For example, I don't know if you've ever gone paintballing. Have you ever done paintballing?
Yeah.
Or laser tag or something like this?
Yeah.
If you go paintballing or laser tag, there's always one fucker who thinks he's actually in Vietnam leading a platoon through the jungle. Like they are dead serious. They're doing all the hand signals. They've probably blacked their face up a little bit, you know, in that way, you know, and they just they're all in, man, in a way that just frankly scares me. And I can never relate that. I'm having fun. I'm like you, like the way you describe it. If I'm doing paintball, I'm running around I want to inflict as much damage as I can, but I don't care, really. It's a bit of crack. But I see these people at work and they're really getting head up about it. So I guess it's where you come on the seriousness with which you take it scale. And Lisa Marie, what about
It's
you?
bragging rights, isn't it?
That's what.
Yeah, that's what
I suppose.
If that guy who's lying on the floor and he's on if he's on my team, I'm shooting him. The one who's crawling and thinks he's commando. I'm shooting the fucker. Get out of the game. So yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Lisa Marie.
Yeah, as they say in Call of Duty, friendly fire will not be tolerated. This is you're really not supposed to do that. I remember it reminds me of doing it with my kid, and they just basically with a few, when we're talking about, like, I think we were it was laser tag. And all the kids were about 8, 9, and they just basically kept shooting each other in the face and chest. They just didn't get the concept of teams and working together. It was just like just shooting each other. It was just pure chaos. It was lovely to watch. What about you, Lisa Marie? Have you ever involved yourself in a fantasy football league, even if not for soccer, then for perhaps American football or something like that?
Well, I know this will come as a shock to everyone, but actually I am a 4-time fantasy football champion. Just kidding. Never done
what?
It. Just teasing. No, I have never.
Shit, I thought we were there.
I should have played that along a little bit further. No, I have never participated. Now, Mr. H did participate for a couple of years, and it was at his work. Now it was NFL, American football. But he had a fantasy league team. But for him, it was just kind of that, it was just something to sort of do with his, with coworkers, and he didn't get all, wrapped up in it, if you will. But I do know people, and again, it's more the NFL fantasy football teams obviously are the more popular thing over here. But I mean, there are people that are like crazy. But yeah, no, it's never appealed. And I mean, probably, from our, Premier League football stance is, I know things about other clubs, but I'm really just interested in what Liverpool is doing. And so I don't want to be in some weird situation where, well, I don't want Allison to have a clean sheet because I'll have a higher score on my fantasy football if he doesn't, or something crazy like that. So I don't even know enough about it to be able to properly speak about it, but I can't even use my usual I have enough information to be dangerous because it's below that level. I just know it's a thing that a lot of people get into, but I am not one of them.
We had a thing at work which was it was kind of like I don't know how you describe it, but basically you had to pick a different team each week, and you had to predict the score in that team's game, as in whether they would win or not. You had to pick a team to win each weekend. So I couldn't pick Liverpool except once, and then I'd have to pick another club and another club. And it was basically sort of testing your punditry skills, I guess, in a way, and your prediction skills. But of course, everybody knows that football's like remarkably unpredictable, which is why we like it, really. So yeah. I trundled on into the last 3 out of 80 people on the staff, and it was so freaking stressful. I just didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed absolutely nothing. In the early days, I was liking the fact that, I was getting them right. And then in the later days, I was liking the fact that, I could win this. And then it was just like, oh my God, I've only got, say Brighton and someone left. And now you've got this really difficult, how do you predict the games? I don't, maybe I'm just no fun, lads. Maybe that's what we're discovering about me. Maybe I'm just no fun. I hope if you are enjoying your fantasy football, that you're having a lovely, lovely time doing it. And don't mind me. What do I know? I have another question for you. I have several other questions for you, and I'm going to do 2 of them before we wrap the show up. The first one I wanted you to think about was, obviously we're all very young. The contributors to this particular episode, we're all very, very young people with a lot of life ahead of us. So, Cam, when you become famous, as you inevitably will, I mean more famous than you are now as a celebrity podcaster.
Thank you.
When you become famous and they make a film about your life, a biopic, if you will, what I had asked you to think about is who you would like to play you.
You.
That's the best answer.
It's the only answer.
I will say one thing. I can pull off I could probably pull off the red pent. I think I could, but I'll tell you what I don't have. You're quite a bit taller than me, I think. So I don't think it's going to look right. What are you walking at?
I'm 5'11".
Oh, okay. I have this impression of you being well over 6 foot. Oh, okay. We're back in. I'm back in play. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 inch, my life story, Trev. Dad always said you need to be 6 foot, and I'm like, but yeah, you can take that another way if you want. But yeah, 1 inch, my life story.
Yeah.
So,
tremendous. Well, I'm very excited at this prospect. I look forward to studying and getting some tips. I've already. I think I could do.
I think you know enough about me, Trev. I'm not sure.
Yeah, man.
I'm
all about this.
Yeah,
this is great.
I just don't think of anybody more ideal because you know me so well. You know the character inside out. It's like this was a match made in heaven, and you're ready made for it.
We're gonna have to get some dye into my beard because your beard is famously ungrayed, whereas that's sadly not the case for me.
That's easy.
That's
easy.
Yeah,
that's easy. That's easy. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to get a good cam wig as well, obviously. But we can work this out. I'm looking forward to this project massively. Next thing I'm gonna ask you is what your life story is called, but we might skip that for another week. Lisa Marie, have you thought about this? What you would like, who you would like to play you for when you are inevitably world famous and people want to make a film of your life? Yeah.
So as we were driving home from my in-laws Thursday evening after celebrating Thanksgiving, and at the time we were intending to record this podcast on Friday, I actually put this question to the family in the car. I'm like, I've got to come up with someone who would play me. Crickets. Silence. They're all like, that's a good one. And then I never got anything else. So today I'm like, I never came up with an answer for that.
I know the answer.
I mean,
oh really? I want to hear.
It's clear. It's clearly got to be a Bronte sister of some sort, right? That's what we've. What we've come up with so far.
Sisters who've been dead for a couple hundred years needs to play me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem. So
Cam, what is your answer?
Let's hear your suggestion.
Well, if I was being, I've got a choice of two here. So we could either go with who was I going to say? My mind's suddenly gone a blank. We could either go with Sandra Bullock, or Trev's going to love this one now. Kate Beckinsale.
Wow. Well, here's first of all, flattered on both of those suggestions. Here's the problem on both of those suggestions is both of those ladies are quite a bit taller than I am.
Yeah, well,
I am not tall.
That doesn't matter because here's one for you, right? Tom Cruise, how tall is he?
Oh, he's only like what, 5'6", maybe 5'7"?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not tall at all.
Yeah, and he plays Jack Reacher, right? Who in the books is over 6 foot.
Oh, okay, good point.
Yeah. Height is just a number.
You see the problem
it's just
there.
A number. Numbers are not real. Remember.
The problem there. Oh yeah, we did discover that before in this podcast, didn't we? Numbers are not real. Brainch. Holy shit! I'd forgotten that particular gem from you. We do have a problem. Jack Reacher, you see, I hate to break this to you, is not real.
No, but,
Whereas Lisa Marie Hanahan is quite real.
Yeah, so but my point is, yes, but we can do this in reverse as well, Trev. You don't have to do it logically. Life is not logical.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mag boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Well, clearly we're not doing it logically when you're saying numbers are not real and you're talking about Jack Reacher. But I do like this. I'm really liking this idea. I think I heard Sandra Bullock do a decent approximation of an accent from your general region of the States, Lisa Marie. So that's already.
Yeah, because she did the Blind Side, which is Memphis. So
the Blind Side, right? That's not far from you, right? So yeah. that's what I was thinking.
Here's the thing. Let me ask y'all this. So you think I have a Southern accent? Now I know I throw y'all around a lot, but other than that, it's funny to me that you think that because people here who are from the South don't think I have a particularly Southern accent.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No, you don't.
I mean, there's certain words I know I say. And if I'm around for a period of time, I'm kind of like a parrot where I pick up accents.
Yeah.
So if I'm around people with very Southern accents, my accent will tend to be more Southern, but no, I do not. I mean, as I said, I know I throw the word y'all around a lot, which is very Southern, but other than that, I don't think I have a particularly Southern.
That's as close as it gets, isn't it?
I would think if it wasn't for the occasional, vocabulary choice, that it would be. It's completely. It's not neutral, but it's definitely not. It's definitely not pronounced at all. In the same way, Cam, you spent most of your life in the general sort of Birmingham region, didn't you?
I'm an East Midland boy originally, just north of Leicester.
Okay.
Then I moved, so I lived there for 18 years. Then I lived 13, 14 years in Gloucester. So that's it's not quite a southwest accent there, but it tinges on it. So obviously no accent developed there. And then I've been in Birmingham now for 20 odd years. So I don't have a Birmingham accent. My two younger ones have got a slight Birmingham accent, but not massively. Or if they have, I don't notice it.
I would have said your accent is quite neutral as well. It's not. It doesn't betray a specific region. Same way as mine does, and nobody ever knows where I'm from. I mean, again, if I'll use words that betray my Irishness for sure, but people wouldn't have a clue what part of Ireland I'm from if I didn't let them know. I don't think any of us are too regional in that way.
Yeah, I mean, when I was living in Loughborough, people said I had a Coventry accent, whatever that is. And I'm like, well, I'm born and bred here. How can I have a Coventry accent?
How can you
what
have
is a Coventry accent? Yeah. So it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Because I guess East Midlands, Leicester side doesn't really have, it is a neutral, it's not really renowned for an accent of any sort. If you hear Mo Chatra speak, I know he's from Leicester. I believe he's from Leicester. You wouldn't know he's from Leicester just from listening to hearing him speak, would you?
He's another one that doesn't really betray any strong regional thing with his accent. It's interesting, and by the same token, I'll listen to Dave Hendrick, and Dave sounds a lot more like where we're both from than I do, and yet at the same time, I think it's probably just from working in this medium. You don't tend to be just possibly as strong with the regional stuff. I don't know, maybe that's a part of talking for a living. I don't know. It's probably certainly for what I do as well.
Well, it's like Gags as well, isn't it? Would you know he's from Wolverhampton just from listening?
I would a little bit more. I think with Gags I can hear the accent that much stronger than I can with some other people. But again, it's not very strong at all. No. When you know what a strong Wolverhampton accent's like, But so as you said, that's a good point you make. It's a toned down
or a black country accent, as it would be.
Yeah, which I do like. I have to say, I do like that black country accent.
Lenny Henry.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I do quite like that. I'm a big. See, this is the thing. I'm a big fan of accents and regional accents, and I've always been.
Dan Rhodes has got the best.
I like Dan. Yeah, but again, it's strong, but it's not.
Not overbearing.
He's a very clear communicator, Dan too. So. We've gone off track a little bit because
not on this podcast. No way.
Because it's Sandy B and her potential for doing a Lisa Marie impression, and I wondered, would you be able to guess who it is that I'm picking to play me? And it's going to be, just to be clear, it's going to be second half of life me, because this guy is only going to be able to do that, alas. So it's going to have to be a late biopic, but I think it's good. Yeah, go on. Who's it?
I think you're going to go for Mr. Reeves.
Mr. Reeves.
Keanu.
Oh no! I'm not going for
that. Okay. Stanley Tucci.
It's the Tooch. It is the Tooch. Yeah. I mean, like, loads of people say to me, "You remind me of someone." I don't know who it is, and then they go, "Oh, it's that guy from that." So I there's a lot of general. The general go is there. I think he could do a good job. Now, I haven't heard Tucci doing an accent really ever. He just always.
That's true. It's just him.
Tucci just sounds like Tucci. He's one of those guys, like actually Mel Gibson, who very rarely attempts an accent. Although Gibbo, to be fair to him, has a decent Scottish accent in his locker, and obviously he is an Australian, but he's got like this hybrid accent which he just uses in all his movies. Really, an awful lot of these guys do. Connery's famous, of course, for it. But I think Tucci's in that category. I've never heard Tucci do a regional accent, but I think he could probably. I'll flatter myself that he might do a decent job on late half of life, Trev. But I can't come up with anyone for the first half. I just can't. There's nobody I see that's even. I don't know who would be. I hit a total wall there in terms of any contemporary actors who'd be able to do the first half part. So I'm just going to go with Tucci, and I'm going to go out of that and into our last question for this evening. And I'm going to give you a choice actually here. There were three different questions here. One was, what's your favorite T-shirt that you own and why? The other was, what's a good book? And the other is, what's a good album? I'm going to let you answer the question of your choice. So which do you want to go for, Lisa Marie? Your favorite T-shirt and why? What's a good book, as in some sort of a recommendation for us, or what's a good album?
I'll do the T-shirt one.
I was going to do that.
Do the T-shirt one. Nice.
You're
going to do that too?
Do you want to do that one, Kim? That's
we'll all do it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We'll all do it. So I was picking for the group.
Yeah, let's all do it.
Let's all do it.
Cheers, Cam.
You're welcome.
So it was up until about 6 months ago. It was in this. It was a Liverpool T-shirt, and it wasn't because it was a Liverpool T-shirt. It was just because it was soft and it was comfortable, and I just liked it. But now it's gotten to the point where it's been washed so much that it's not as soft anymore, if that makes any sense. It's kind of, scratchy. So currently my favorite t-shirt is one from my daughter's dance studio, which is like super soft cotton. And actually I'm wearing it right now. And it's kind of this heather gray. So it's great for layering. Like I can easily throw a sweatshirt or a hoodie or something over it, and it doesn't feel all like bulky or whatever underneath it. And so that's my current favorite one.
I like that line of thinking. I like it. I like it that you're thinking about other things that can go with it, and I like that you've gone for comfort as well. Which is the opposite of what I went for.
I mean,
I agree. I agree. There was a time where I had more t-shirts than was literally sane to own. I just accumulated t-shirts that are and I did get rid of a lot of them. My one that I really like is there's a podcast I'm a massive fan of called the Higher Side Chats, and they've got this great line of merch. And you will know that I fancy myself a bit of a Ron Swanson, working within the government to unsettle it from within. And that's basically how I picture my professional existence. Teaching the youngsters of today how to think for themselves, as opposed to the by rote bullshit that an awful lot of them have to endure in the school system. I'm quite serious about that in a way, and I'm also kind of taking the piss out of myself. I don't have lofty notions like that, but it is a thing I do. So one of the Higher Side Chat t-shirts that I got it's fantastic, and I wear it to work. It's got like a classroom scene. It's got this demented what do you call those things, marionette teacher with like his teacher hat, like those those things you wear on graduation day, and he's up the top of the classroom, and all kids, and they're all they've got these like just vague vapid eyes on them and these neutral expressions, and the guy is controlling them from above with those marionette strings. And it's got all these references to the state system and how it's designed to create good obedient slaves as opposed to independent thinkers. Loads of lovely symbolism all the way across the t-shirt, and it says underneath "Get Educated," which is a nice pun. I wear that to work, and I enjoy it very much. And I've had so far 3 lads go, "It's a really cool t-shirt, sir," and I go, "Yes, it is." So that's mine. That's me just doing my little contribution for the cause. Young Brainch, your favorite t-shirt to wrap us up tonight?
I've actually got this a black t-shirt. It was something that I saw when I was on the old Bird app, as you like to call it, Trev, quite a few years ago actually, and saw this picture, and it was so it's a black t-shirt. It's got 2 hands on it that are like ripping open the t-shirt. So and it's big, it's like proper hand size, and then as it's ripped it open, there's it's like it's ripping open your chest, you could say. Yeah. But it's ripping, and it's revealing not your heart, but a liver bird. And so it's got the Liverpool crest in it, and it's just, and I couldn't find this. I couldn't find where it was, and actually an Arsenal fan actually found a link for the shirt, and it came in from the States. So. That's my shirt, but the problem is it's just fading now, and it's just like, and I can't remember where I ordered it from because it was so many years ago. Otherwise, I'd order another one. But yeah, so
it does actually sound quite cool, I have to say.
It is cool.
I do like the sound.
I'll post a pic in the group later.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do. That's let's regale each other with our t-shirt pictures later.
Just another quick one. You said a favourite album. If listeners don't know what my favourite album is, I'm going to be really upset. Because there's only one album I listen to.
I would be upset as well. Anyone who's listened to this show for a period of time who can't answer that question, you kind of wonder what you've been doing with your ears, because Cam.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do a challenge, yeah? I mean,
let's do that.
I'm not on the Bird app, yeah? But you guys are, yeah?
Yeah.
So the first person who listens to this, yeah?
And tweets me.
And tweets you or tweets the, on the actual, when you retweet the program, retweet the pod, whatever, yeah? Whoever puts it on there, I will donate £50 to the charity of their choice if they can name which is my favourite album. How's that? Christmas.
I love it.
Well, it's my birthday in a week and a half, so let's say it's mine and Carl's birthday, so that's mine and Carl's little thing. So I'll donate £50 to charity of their choice if they can tell me, which is my favourite album.
And let's be clear, it needs to be in response to one of us or the official Anfield Index account.
It has to be the official Anfield Index account
this
when
show.
You tweet this particular show. Yeah, let's get some. Let's see what people.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
Let's see. That's a great one. I love that.
It can't be. Yeah. And just to add a caveat, Harinder Baji, no. Okay. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It has to be a listener, not a contributor. Yeah.
Also, Kopak's banned from this as well, as is Drinkle. No.
I was going to say, what about Guy and Carl?
Anybody who's part of the Anfield Index podcast community, as in they have contributed within a podcast, not guests who come on, say, like Nina Cowers' show, that's fine. But, or callers who come on, sorry. But anybody who's been a guest or has been on these podcasts as a contributor in any way, shape or form, no, has to be.
You are exempt.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There are rules for once.
For once.
Yeah.
I love it. And I will say, just in case, if we have a situation where no one does it, I will give 50 to the charity of Cam's choice. So there,
and no,
charity won't
as
lose.
well.
So charity won't lose.
Yeah.
And even if our listeners turn out to be completely useless on the topic of your musical favorites, because you only have one album or 4 albums, is it?
No, just one.
I think
it's
just one.
It is just one.
Actually, what you told us is you have 4 songs from
That's
one album.
right, 4 songs from the one album. That's it.
That's it, yeah. Tremendous stuff. Right, we'll wrap it up. I'll give you both an opportunity to plug whatever you want. I want to say I spent a lot of time this week between training and working and stuff like that, filling in my empty time, not with reading, which I've been a lot of lately, but instead I got back into being a couch vegetable, watching 1899 on Netflix, which is delightfully batshit, and I would recommend it to anyone. That's my little rec to finish. Lisa Marie, anything you want to say to sign off with?
Well, I asked for everyone's thoughts and prayers because I am traveling tomorrow morning, and the Monday after Thanksgiving is one of the absolute worst days to travel. So think of me at the airport dealing with.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's now the Tuesday before Thanksgiving is even worse, but the Monday after is generally not a lot of fun either. So think of me. I have an 8 a.m. flight. I'm headed down to Florida for a couple days, work related. So other than that, and the other thing is, we're getting into what I think of as, well, obviously it's the holiday season, and it can be super crazy and insane, just with functions and just extraordinary stuff going on. And just take time to enjoy whatever it is you celebrate. One of the decent things, and there were very few, about 2020 and everything kind of shutting down and us not gathering and doing as many things, is that holiday season, that Christmas season, I had the time and the opportunity to do a lot of the things that I always say I'm going to do and I want to do at the holidays. Like I baked a ton and I hand wrote notes and Christmas cards and I wrapped my presents all pretty, all these things that I really always intend to do, but I just run out of time. And so for that reason, I kind of look back on that holiday season as being enjoyable because everything had kind of slowed down a little bit. And I realized it last year when everything had cranked back up and I didn't have time to do all the fun stuff that I want to do. So I'm trying to make sure that I carve out the time to do the things that I want to do that are part of the season. And I would suggest others do the same.
I love it. And Sandy Bullock, if you're listening, that was an example of Lisa Marie going full Southern Belle when she said she was going to wrap her presents all pretty. So that was nice. I did enjoy that a lot. Cam, what about you? Sign off, my friend.
Quick little story and then a couple of TV recs. I've not mentioned my new job on the pod, obviously, and everybody knows how much I hate it. So I'm a car salesman, people. So I've started selling cars for a big used car dealership here in the UK. And yesterday, a gent walked in with his wife and a young lad. And I'm looking at this guy and he's looking at me. I've started off being my usual sarcastic self, trying to break the ice, with potential customer maybe. And he sort of stopped and stared at me and I'm thinking, oh crap, I've taken it too far. And then I said, let's go outside. We'll have a look at a few cars. And he came outside with an Indian guy. And we're just speaking Punjabi. Or, well, I'm trying to anyway. And I suddenly stopped and I said, I know you from somewhere. And he goes, you know what? I was thinking the exact same thing. And for the next literally 2 hours, I've sold him a car, by the way. We're trying to figure out where we know each other from. And we still haven't figured it out. Yeah, we know each other. I go, when you sort of stopped in the showroom and looked at me, I said, I thought I'd upset you by something I said. He goes, no, I stopped because I thought I knew you. And I was trying to figure out where I knew you from. How mad is that? So that was my little tale. So, but yeah, recommendations. I tried to watch 1899. I watched about 5 minutes of it. And I was like, this is just wrong in every way. I couldn't get, and that was just 5 minutes. When they're dragging the guy back at the start of the first episode, and this guy's come down and he's saying he needs a doctor, and they've just dragged him back. Yeah. And I'm like, what's going on? And the other guy's at the beginning saying, well, nobody understands us because we're speaking a language nobody understands here. And I'm like, what, where is this going? But I'm going to take your word for it, Trev. I'll go with that. 2 quick recommendations then. White Lotus. Different.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's really good. Season 2 is actually in Taormina, my favourite place in the world. So
your favourite spot, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like all over that one. And then I've started watching on BBC or you can watch it on BBC iPlayer. I'm assuming you can. It's on the BBC here in the UK, and that's The English, and it's really good. I
want to watch that because I do like Emily Blunt.
Really good, really, really good.
Oh, I've seen this. This is it's a historical documentary series, right?
No.
Oh,
it's a drama series about a Pawnee Indian and a young English lady.
Oh, okay, right, completely different.
I think it's on.
To what I was thinking.
Is it on Netflix? It may be on Netflix. I can't remember, but
no. Well, it's on BBC here. I've not seen it, but the English. Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Sky's show, The British, which is actually a historical documentary.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So
right. So the English. Okay, very good. If
you can't get to the BBC iPlayer, maybe look at a Liberty Shield VPN. Little plug there for Eddie.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, Gibbo, are you happy with that?
I hope you like that.
Good evening, Gibbo. Hope you're enjoying your evening there, lads. Because I know you'd be listening, and I know you're keeping an eye on making sure that I'm getting these podcasts out that I said I would this week. Eddie's always watching. Eddie's always watching. Right, let's wrap it up at that. That was an enjoyable chat with Lisa Marie Hanahan and Cam Brainch and myself, Trev Downey, and we've decided that we will absolutely be back again with you next week. Of course we will. We'll have more football related and not related chit chat until this World Cup thing is over and the Reds are back at it. You can rely on that from us. We'll try and record again next Friday. I've ruined the last two and these guys have been good enough to do Sunday night with me. We'll see how next week shapes up, and one way or the other you can rely on a show coming out in the week from us, either Friday or Sunday. So stick with us, and thanks for listening every week.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.